So above me here, you can see our current solution for keeping our electric vehicle cable off of the floor. But today we're going to be taking a look at a different product to hopefully solve this issue. This is from Tesmirror, and this is a retractable EV cable system that allows you to keep your cable up and out of the way and be able to retract it down when needed to be able to charge your vehicle. So this should help charge our vehicles not only in our garage, but out in our driveway. Hit that subscribe button, stay tuned. Let's take a look at this and see if it solves our problems. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tech Motoring, and Paul here with this product that I actually bought myself off of Amazon from a company called Tesmirror, which is a retractable electric vehicle cable solution. So basically what you do is, in order to get your cable up and off the floor and away from other cars or a trip hazard or anything that's like that, this is a retractable system that allows you to basically pull the cable out and away from the wall or the ceiling and allow you to basically plug in your vehicle, keeping the cable off the floor and out of the way. So that is pretty much what we're looking at here. So what we want to do today, I'm going to show you this temporary solution that I've had in place now for about a year. Then I'm going to show you what this product will do in place of that, hopefully keeping the cable off the floor like it is now, but also easier for me at the very end of the cable, as you can see down at the other side of the garage there, and be able to charge the cars not only in the garage and keep the cable away from other cars that might be in the way, but also be able to plug in my truck that's out in the driveway, and hopefully we'll be able to have a better solution after having this installed. So let's get this laid out on the floor so you can kind of see how this works and how it looks, and then we'll go ahead and get it installed and see if it functions better than our current system. Let's jump into showing you how this works first, and then we'll show you what this should do in place of it. All right, everybody. Well, you join me towards the back of my garage here because this is where I have most of my electrical for, chargers, and when I do, charging tests on the channel. This is pretty much where I do most of my video shooting and everything like that. However, the problem with it, and this was a mistake that I didn't think about until I had all of this all set up, is that the garage continues to go all the way out there to the driveway. And so when I need to charge my F-150 Lightning, I usually just pull it up to the door over here and then I plug it in. And the reason I use this particular charger is no other reason other than the fact that it's got a nice long 30-foot cable, which allows me to reach out to the driveway. As you can see, the rest of it's coiled up over here, which this does allow me to go out to, this part of the driveway. So it is long enough. However, the issue is that when we come to charge, let's say the Mach-E that's in the garage right here, it tends to sit basically on top of the hood of my Tesla and everything like that. And it kind of gets in the way, and I don't like it because it could help, it could scratch the car, and I don't want that to happen. So what I want to do is I want to try to get this up on some sort of system that will help keep the cable up and out of the way and hopefully over my Tesla hood when we're charging it. So as you can see, we threw together this really awful design system here where I just took a couple of these retractable lanyards and attached them to this cable just like this, just to keep the cable up and out of the way in the air. But it's not a very good system. This is just literally a temporary thing until we found something better. And that's why I'm hoping to use this product from Tesmirror today. Now, I had a very similar solution to this back when we had our first EV, our Hyundai Ioniq, where we were using the 120 volt cable and using that as our primary charger, and it kind of worked out really well. But that cable was a lot thinner, a lot lighter, and this one is, as you can see, pretty thick. It's a pretty thick cable, and it's just definitely not exactly conducive to with this type of setup. It just doesn't work right. So I wanted to find something that was a little bit more professional. So as you can see here, it doesn't really retract at all. It just kind of sits at its maximum length because there's really nothing left of these lanyards at this point. They're pretty much completely maxed out. But basically what we want to do today is try to get the Tesmirror system set up. And what we're going to probably do is probably mount it somewhere up here into the ceiling, probably somewhere where that one lanyard is sitting. Have it mounted somewhere up there, so this way we could pull down the cable and retract it from the wall and it would still be up in the air and out of the way of things. And we should have a pretty decent solution, hopefully. So anyway, let's go ahead and I'm going to show you the Tesmirror solution, and we'll look at all the parts and we'll get it installed today. All right, well, here is the Tesmirror cable retracting system for your electric vehicle charger. And so this is a pretty decent looking kit so far, and like I said, I bought this myself off of Amazon. I'll have a link down in the description if you're interested. And as you can see here, they give you some of these hose clamps here that you can use. So we're going to be using probably these fat guys here. Those ones are not quite big enough. They also give you this other random small one, which I'm not really sure exactly what that's for, but the instructions kind of show that stuff. A couple screws with some anchors. Over here you have this like bungee cord system, which we'll go over in a little bit. You have the actual retracting system here. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Some more anchors right there. And of course we have our mounting system. So this ring right here gets mounted to the top of this and the bungee cord. And then this is how you mount it to the ceiling. They didn't specify any reason as to why they give you this D-ring of sorts. Obviously maybe this could be mounted to the ceiling instead of using the hook. But it doesn't say that anywhere in the instructions. The instructions are pretty vague. So we're going to be kind of making this up as we go, I guess, because some of this stuff is not exactly well explained in the instructions. But basically, the gist of it is that we have to get these clamps on to the cables in certain areas, get the end of the cable clamped to this. The biggest thing is getting that that hook right there screwed into the ceiling. Make sure we hit a beam with that. And then from there, we just pretty much have to just make adjustments over time to figure it out. So let's go ahead and get to getting that hook in the ceiling, and then we'll kind of make the adjustments with the length and the bungee and all that sorts as well. So let's start there. All right, and then I guess it's recommended you put this on here like this, so you can see how the picture is. It's facing like this, and then you have the taller end of that ring there facing that way, and then I guess the bungee here snaps in like so. I assume that's how it looks in the picture there. Snaps into the ring, I guess. I guess it really doesn't matter if you snap it into the ring or to this, I guess. It's pretty much the same difference there. But what we're going to do now is we're going to get this hung up on the ceiling, and then we're going to get this mounted to the cable, which they recommend having 3 to 5 feet of cable after this, and I'll explain that more once we get it up on the ceiling there. All right, so temporarily I have this wrapped around this part of the cable. As you can see here, I just put that nut and bolt through the clamp there, and then tightened it up a little bit, but I could still slide this around if I need to. I could just loosen that up a little bit and slide that around. So that's just there temporarily for now while I get this all situated. I still need to move this bungee over to this part of the cable here. I'll take all this stuff off after I'm done. But yeah, so we want to, I guess, put some tension on this cable by using this bungee cord, and that should keep everything kind of up and out of the way. Sorry, I'm so close here, but that should be the idea. So the bungee cord comes out like this, holds this cable up, which should also keep this into the cable retractor as well. And then hopefully I might not need all this anymore, or maybe I will keep it. I'm not really sure yet, but definitely want to just work on concentrating on this side first and then seeing how that retraction works. They recommend 3 to 5 feet of cable after this point. So when this is all the way up and retracted, 3 to 5 feet, but I need to get out to the driveway. So I'm actually going to have probably more like 8 feet or something after that, that clamp there. So not really sure what we're going to do exactly about that as of yet, but we shall see. So let's go ahead and get that bungee connected somewhere over here, at least temporarily, and go from there. I'm not sure exactly how we're supposed to connect that bungee to the cable, because I assume you're supposed to use these hose clamps, or I keep calling them hose clamps, they're just regular clamps. I'm supposed to use these clamps, I imagine, but I'm not really sure exactly how exactly those are supposed to go through, because they don't really fit through the whatchamacallit. So I might have to use my own, nut and screw system for these as well. All right, so over here now we have the bungee tied up with this clamp. I found another one of these screws and nuts. I had one laying around, so I just used that for the bungee mechanism here. As you can see, it goes up. This I'm going to adjust now because you can see I have this little loop here. And now over here I cut off all of my system there, and as you can see, it's just kind of like laid down like this. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to take one of these clamps, and we're going to mount it up on the wall. I think this is actually in the instructions. Mount it up on the wall so it's kind of off and high. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it pretty close to this little area right here between the box and the panel, and just try to have the cable run through there as best as possible so it's kind of out of the way. And that should help straighten out this, so this way it's not hanging down so much. And then once we get this section situated, and then maybe I'll do another little piece over here, then we can adjust this side to make this all clean and organized. And it's not going to be the greatest function for what this was intended for. It's intended to have just the last few feet off of this retractor, but I'm going to have all this extra stuff. So it's only going to be in the event that you need to run it out, 8 or 10 feet, is that retractor system really going to come into play. So, but that's how I kind of wanted it. I needed that extra space and that extra, 6 feet of, I think it's 5.5 feet is the length of that retractor there. So that should give me enough to kind of organize this a little bit better than how it was, but also keep it away from, the hood of the Tesla, which I'll show you guys once we're all finished up here. But in the meantime, let's get this tidied up, and then we'll come back and tidy all this back up, and then we're almost done, basically. It's pretty close to being done. And by the way, we're going to be using this clamp, the big clamp for us, and then we're going to use the screw that actually came with the kit here to mount that to the wall. So that's the plan. So we're going to put the cable in here, run it through, and then put this screw through here and into the wall. All right, just a quick update. So you can see I got that clamp there on that part of the cable. It's running over here. I might put another clamp somewhere in the middle over here as well, just to kind of clean it up. I just don't have one at the moment. It runs out in front of all my stuff. Don't worry about any of this stuff. I don't care about it being blocked by the cable either. It doesn't bother me. And then it comes over here. So you can see that right now, this is just kind of free floating here. And the reason that that is being pulled out is because this cable's actually pretty heavy. So I think what we need to do now is actually, we either need to move the bungee cord down this way a little bit, which I don't think is going to solve our issue, or what we need to do is adjust that knob. Sorry, you can't really see it there, but there's a way you can adjust that knob to basically make this tighter. So it was in the instructions. Let's take a look at that real quick. So for adjustments, it says strengthen in direction of arrow, which is that way, or loosen retractor by turning lever so charger pulls all the way out with unnecessary force to pull it down. If necessary, reposition clamps for the ideal height of the charger to hang and where they are aesthetically pleasing. All right, so I guess we need to turn it that way. So a counterclockwise motion in order to make it stronger, basically. So let's give that a shot. Okay, so let's see what happens here. So if I twist this, okay, looks like it's a little bit better now. Let's do a couple more. And I guess what it's doing is it's putting extra tension on the spring there. Okay, so there we go. So that's pretty good. So we're only falling down like 10 inches now. So let's go a little bit more. All right. Okay, so that's pretty good. It only comes down a couple inches now from the top. And that should be pretty good. In fact, let's go a couple more turns. And there we go. That's pretty much good right there. It's going to have a little bit of tension, so when it retracts back up. But yeah, that'll be good. All right, cool. So that's now tensioned properly. And in fact, let's just do one more, just for the heck of it. All right, cool. Well, that's broken. All right, well, we had a bit of a failure there, didn't we? So as you can see here, the loop here has basically fallen out of that clamp. So that's what ended up happening. The end of this pulled through that. What a shame. What a simple flaw too. You know, you think you would have this down, but all right. Well, I'm going to see if there's a way that I can improve this, and I'll get back to you. All right, so took a few minutes, slid this cable back in. I re-crimped it real good. I made sure there's a little bit of extra cable just kind of sticking out this side here as well, just so it doesn't get pulled through as easily. Yeah, we'll see if this works. If it doesn't work, well, it'll just have to get sent back. But yeah, let's take a look. Let's get it back up there. All right, well, let's see. We fixed it. So far, so good. We'll see how it works after a bunch of uses. All right, so if we grab our cable now, so as you can see, we have a good, maybe 10 feet of cable after that. So the idea is that when we need to stretch it across the garage to the Mach-E, we can do so, and the cable stays kind of up in the air, like so. All right, or if we need to go out into the driveway. So I think we need to adjust this clamp down a little bit more. So it works better going out to the driveway. Pulling this way, it seems to pull fine. But not when pulling that way. Okay. All right, so I think we're pretty much got this pretty good, I think. So as you can see here, we just got this hung up along the wall here. Once again, I'll probably mount this a little bit better later on. We got this like S in the cable here, so now it drapes down. We don't have to like wrap it around the cable wrap anymore here on the wall. The only thing is, because it's right here close to this garage door opener, it tends to come out on an angle and hit the garage door a little bit. So I might have to do something about that. So maybe I end up having to move that closer to the wall eventually. But basically the idea is that we can pull our handle and we can make it all the way to the Mach-E without any problems. The cable stays up and away from everything, which is the idea behind this. And yeah, so I think that should work okay with my car in the way, but I think maybe what I might do is maybe we can make that a little higher or something. I'm not sure. I have to figure that out, but all right, so some adjustments here. So we went ahead and moved that back closer to the wall just because it was hitting the steel of the garage door opener here as we were pulling on it. So we don't want that to happen because that'll wear down the cable and that cable will just end up snapping on us. And then if I move the ladder out of the way, we have our J1772 holster. We have the cable hanging down, so this looks pretty good. And then what we're going to do here is I'm going to pull the Tesla back into the garage, and then we're going to see how it looks from that side of things to see if we could charge the Mach-E without hitting the Tesla, and see how it feels trying to plug in the Lightning for a little bit. All right, well, here is the moment to talk about how this looks. So just first impressions, this looks so much better than all those things hanging down from the ceiling. That just looked like a mess in this garage. So I'm glad it looks a lot better as far as this. Once again, I got to tidy up this cable and put a little bit of another clamp against the wall there, make sure that cable stays nice and tight against the wall, but also make it a little cleaner out of the way. So this is the final product of the retracting system here. So we have this little thing here, and then it loops down like so, and it just barely comes off the floor, which is kind of what we want, just to kind of keep it out of the way. This way we don't have to loop this cable around every time we're done with it, because what ends up happening is if we don't loop it, then I end up trying to, almost run over it with the Tesla when I leave out of the garage. So the goal of this video was to try to make it where this can reach the Mach-E without touching the Tesla, because before it used to rub up against the front bumper of the Tesla if you had to drag it over this way, or it would touch the Tesla if we came out here to the F-150 Lightning. So first things first, let's go ahead and just grab this like we normally would do, and then we're going to walk over to the Mach-E. All right, so we are plugged in, and it is not on the car. That's what we wanted. So that is pretty good. So you can see we have some tension pulling it back, which is what's keeping this, you know, off of the car, which is what we wanted. Now, of course, we can continue to adjust this a little bit more if we wanted to. Like, I can bring this clamp down here more, which would probably bring this up just a little bit more, give a little bit more space there. So that could be a possibility. So yeah, pretty good. That looks good. I'm happy with that. It's still very clean. So now when we're done charging, or when my wife is done charging the car, she goes here, unplugs it, and brings it back to the handle or the cradle, just like that. So it did, I just heard it. It did hit the hood a little bit when I unhooked it and brought it over. So maybe not the greatest solution, but it's definitely better than it resting on the car while it's charging. So yeah, that's not too bad. Let's try the Lightning now and see how this works. Do we have enough cable to reach the Lightning? So pull it down like that. Pop open the thing here. Plug it in. And that looks good, except it is rubbing on the truck. Let's see if we can do something about that. Yeah, we could do that. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. And I think this is pretty much... that's pretty much maxed out at that point. So we probably don't want to pull that anymore. Now, of course, you saw earlier in the video that I had an issue with this right here, where that piece slipped through that clamp there, or whatever you want to call that, and it ended up basically breaking. And then when I fixed it again, I put this thing back in line, and then this thing gave out on me. As you can see, there's a huge gap right there in the middle, so that doesn't help at all. So I stopped using that too, and just put this piece into the loop, the steel cable loop, and that seems to be holding for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue to use this for a couple of weeks. Let's just see how it works. Is it going to break again? Are we just end up going to having to return this to the seller and say, hey, this thing's not working for us, and go from there? Or will we keep it? I don't know. I like the idea. I like the thought of this. But unfortunately, it looks like the execution is not as good as I'd hoped. So I might actually adjust this a little bit more. Like, this might come back a little bit over here. Just a hair more. Possibly. That might help alleviate this issue. But then again, if I do that, then I'm going to have the issue with it touching this car while it's in here. All sorts of problems I got in here, I'll tell you. But anyway, I think it's pretty good right now. So let's give it a couple weeks and see how I feel about it then. All right, everybody, welcome back to a few months later after I've installed the Tesmirror overhead cabling system. Now, weirdly enough, I have not had any problems with it. As you saw previously in this video, I ended up, breaking that clip, or whatever you want to call it, that retention piece that holds the steel cable in place. And then I just kind of, pulled it back through and did some work of my own to try to get it to sit in place. And so far, I've not had a single problem with it. And we use this cable all the time. We use it to charge our Mach-E that's on that side of the garage behind you. And of course, we have our F-150 Lightning right here, which we usually park outside, which is why we need a cable to reach the outside of the garage here. But we have not had any problems with it breaking. I haven't had any issues with the drum up there getting stuck or getting caught or anything like that. And usually if it does get caught out a little bit, I'll usually just kind of pull it a little bit and then help guide it up a little bit. Now, this is a pretty heavy cable. Once again, this is a 30-foot cable that's running from our EVSC over here all the way to this corner of our garage. So it's a pretty heavy cable, and it still does a pretty good job. And as you saw, I really ratcheted up the tension on that cable up there. And so we do have pretty heavy cable on this, and we use this charger basically daily. We basically have it used every single day. And as you saw previously as well, is that it now is off the floor, number one, but also it's no longer hitting my car, which normally parks right about here in the garage. It's normally not hitting that car anymore when you're trying to run the cable around the front of it and plug in the Mach-E that's usually parked on that side of the garage. So it's actually nice to have the cable that's now going over the Tesla, and we're not worried about, you know, bumping into the Tesla at all. So once again, let me just show you the setup here, which is we have our EVSC that's over here in this corner of the garage, and then we just have our cable mounted to the wall with some of these, you know, wire or cable brackets here, and then we just kind of have it strewn out here for the extra length of cable that we need to get to places. So pretty much, as you can see, we can grab this cable off the holster like this, and we can go to a lot of parts of the garage. So it's pulling out from the drum, and it can go to a lot of parts of the garage, especially outside. This has a pretty decent length to it, as you can see. So it's about 5 feet or so. So this can go quite the distance from that little drum up there. And so, like, let's say I have my Ford truck awkwardly placed in the driveway right now. Let's say we wanted to plug this in to charge it, right? Well, even with it being quite a distance over in the driveway, I just take this, walk out with it, and boom, I could plug right in right here, even way out in the middle of the driveway. Not a problem whatsoever. Middle of the driveway as in width-wise, not length-wise. But I could go pretty good distance out to here. So if we have another car that's over here on this side of the driveway, I could still plug it in over here. And of course, when I want to go back, it just retracts back in, plug it back into the holster, not included, and that's it. So it's been a great solution for us so far, keeping the cable off the ground, number one, so this way it's not a trip hazard. And yeah, it's been really nice. Now we'll be doing a complete overhaul of this garage probably in the over the course of the next like 6 months or so. So we're gonna be seeing some major changes here, which is gonna be pretty cool, but this solution will probably stay in place. I do need to find a better solution to where I could charge my truck out in the driveway, like all the way down towards the bottom of the driveway where it's kind of out of the way. And I think that's going to be another project for another video, kind of showing how we're going to do that. And it might require us to mount a charger either outside or behind you over there on that side of the garage. Now, this video wasn't sponsored. It wasn't, you know, Tesmirror didn't reach out to me to, you know, give me their product for this video. I actually bought this just as a cheap solution for now, so I can charge my vehicles pretty more freely and easily, so this way it's not so much of a hassle and having this big cable just getting thrown on the ground. And I just wanted something a little bit better. And so this has worked out pretty well for us for the past few months, and I'm pretty happy about that. But stay tuned to the channel. We're gonna have a lot more things coming up in the near future with this garage because I have some pretty big plans for it. Anyway, I'd like to thank you very much for watching this episode of Tech Motoring. Of course, if you're curious about this particular product, your choice whether or not you want to take your chances with it. I'll put a link down in the description below so you can take a look at it for yourself. And of course, we'll see you on the next one. Remember, welcome to the future. Welcome to Tech Motoring. We'll see you soon, everybody.